Hey guys, what's going on? Back with another video. This is kind of a Cold War slash Vanguard video, and as you can tell by the title, it's going to do with bus route B and transit. I know it's one of those topics in the zombies community that's kind of like been beaten to death, so to speak. But want to kind of go over some things that might actually tie into Cold War. It was an idea that I had a couple years ago, and it looks like everything's setting up perfectly. But again, it's setting up perfectly more in my head canon, or my own interpretation of what's going on, not necessarily what's coming or what Treyarch or Call of Duty has planned, or even maybe COD Mobile, because there's a lot of transit stuff in COD Mobile. So I want to go over some ideas that I had a couple of years ago. It all kind of started working out with Cold War when we had Noctur on Toten, remake as Die Machine, or not really a remake, but I got to be careful how I say that. Noctur on Toten showed up in Die Machine, similar to Transit. A lot of people think that Transit got reworked into Die Machine, but maybe we'll draw some parallels when we get into Vanguard, or maybe down the road, or maybe in Cold War, maybe, um, or COD Mobile. Sorry, maybe when Vanguard comes around, maybe they'll draw parallels in COD Mobile. Who knows? These are all kind of ideas that I have, and again, I want to open the door to people having theories, what they think is coming, what they would want to come. Again, so people don't realize or haven't caught on. A lot of the stuff that ends up in the game are fan theories, and it happens in movies. It happens in Disney movies, Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, all kinds of certain things. The directors or the writers might be looking for ideas, and they might kind of have like a brain fart, so to speak, and can't come up with anything that might work. But sometimes the fans end up coming with better ideas, or paying tribute or respects to the fans, or thanking them for being fans. They'll use some of the stories from the community and stuff like that. So moving forward, with all that being said, want to give you a quick backstory and how it's all kind of, like I said, working out together in my own head canon, or if I worked for Treyarch, or helped out with the story. It looks like Hanford site started pre World War II. They were looking to beat Germany and Japan in World War II. I don't know necessarily if Germany or Japan were winning at this point. But anyways, they ended up creating the atomic bomb, and one of the facilities they used, aside from Nuketown, Nevada, Sedan Crater, and stuff like that. So this might all tie into, like I said, Vanguard and World War II era, because Sedan Crater was important in transit and Nuketown, and then Hanford site transit was also important in World War II, even though transit takes place in the year 2025, I believe, well after the year 2000. So anyways, maybe it's gonna get the ball start rolling. Maybe it's gonna kind of fill in some gaps, not necessarily give us an answer, because again, a lot of the zombies community look for things like in Mount Toten, they were looking for Kino, but it kind of filled in some of those gaps. It didn't necessarily give us a Kino map. People are always looking for Atlantis. Atlantis is scattered all over the Call of Duty maps. People just don't know how to like look into stuff deeply, or the meaning, or the artistic meaning. But this might again get the ball rolling as far as having a transit, a bus route B, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit deeper in a few minutes. I'm going to kind of skim over this really quickly, just so the video does not end up being like 40 minutes long. So basically, in a nutshell, Hanford site was a town in, first was a town in Washington state. They started doing experiments. The residents were scared. A lot of them moved away or forced to move away. So they built the facility even bigger. The facility starts having leaking, and stuff started going into the air. The residents got sick. More of them moved away. The place got quarantined. And the long and short of it, again, you'll see right here the picture, and it's the World War II era, and before the reactors. You can kind of pause it, read it yourself, but I'm just kind of summing it up. Again, it was done by the U.S. Department of Energy, and World War II is pretty much when the facility was in its peak, because it was trying to find a way to build the atomic bomb, use the atomic weapons to defeat Germany and Japan. Moving forward, it was also used in the Cold War era, so again, everything might kind of tie into this a little bit better. Maybe kind of and maybe some intel. Maybe it'll give us some Cold War stuff. Maybe we're gonna have a Cold War 2 where everything is kind of intertwining together, which is another theory that I have, because there's a lot of blackout stuff that's showing up in Cold War right now, like tanks and grapples. Samantha has powers, so they might actually have a Cold War Part 2 or Year 2. Intertwining both stories would be a good idea. You'll get like the World War II um, kind of Hanford Site part of it, and then you can maybe get some Cold War part of it also. Maybe they'll intertwine some of the zombie stories. Again, this is all in my theories or head canon, not necessarily what's coming, but it looks like it would be setting up perfectly for what would come or what can come in the next Vanguard game and story. Maybe they'll mix it up, give us some real life science stuff and some fantasy stuff, because that seems like it's probably going to be the best recipe, is people mixing up, or Treyarch mixing up both fantasy stuff and real life stuff, maybe taking a break and going back and forth to give people a little mixture of what they might need. Or some of it might be like Outbreak, might be the more down to earth stuff, whereas maybe the survival maps might be more fantasy, or vice versa and stuff like that. Being as people are saying that they love Black Ops 3 and that's kind of their best era with the fantasy dragons and all that stuff, and giant spiders and giant robots and stuff like that. Maybe the survival maps would be best for that, for those type of people, and to make the people that are more grounded happy, give them the Outbreak stuff, and put like maybe some Transit and Outbreak. Again, this is all fitting in pretty well. Again, these are just some quick photos of the Hanford site, Washington State. Again, you can see everything was kind of like just ripped apart and all the houses were gone. It was just one big, huge facility. Again, going by the title, this is what ultimately was in Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 Zombies had the transit, Victor's transit crew, just in case you're not familiar with that. That's Misty, holding the head of someone who at the time we thought might be Samantha, holding the head of Richthofen, or Misty holding the head of maybe Richthofen, or holding the head of Samantha at the time. Because a lot of the zombie directors are always looking to kind of bury it, and not in a bad way, but kind of bury the old crew and the old way of thinking and coming up with their new ways. Maybe Misty and the Victor's crew were gonna kill off like Richthofen or Samantha's storyline and come up with their own. Who knows? But I guess you would have to ask Jimmy Zielinski at this point. So here again, back into Transit, and I'm gonna use my mouse. So on the left hand side is the real life Google Maps layout of what used to be the Hanford site. On the right hand side is the map from the bus depot, and it shows the bus route on the right side, bus route A and bus route B. And something that got solved a few years ago, or maybe people knew ahead of time, I'm not 100% sure. There might be more bus routes, like let's say this is a bus route here going into Transit, because this one right here is a Transit bus route. So there might be like 3 bus routes, this one being A, this one being or this one being C, this one being A, and this one being B. So we're just going to concentrate on the bottom one, which we theorize, going by the layout of Transit, that when you pass the tunnel and right at the diner, it's blocked off to go this way to the Hanford site, because down here is the Hanford site as it is. So again, this is kind of going to lead to the question of what you would want, or what backstory you would want for bus route B. Again, maybe it's going to get an answer in hopefully Vanguard, but bus route B was supposed to be right here, and then we maybe go to the facility, maybe go past it. It does swing by past it, but maybe it would stop here, drop us off, and we would go to the facility, maybe fix some stuff, maybe I don't know what would happen. Again, it's kind of up in the air what was supposed to happen at that point. Maybe the explosion happened at the site. Maybe we're going to go clean it up somehow. Maybe undo what happened. But basically, bus route B was supposed to begin where the bus and the diner right out of the tunnel would be. And we would go here, then maybe we go past it. Some people theorize we would go to Nuketown. So again, there could be more stops. One of it being the facility, then Nuketown. So my question is again, why was bus route B closed off? And I'm going to show you in a little bit. Here I just did my own drawing, which actually came out really nice. And you see the bus route B here. Again, it goes here. I'm surprised I drew that well. I don't know how I ended up drawing that well, because that looks pretty good. And the bus route B started right here. Here's the Hanford site. And this is something that we were thinking was going to come in Black Ops 4. It's something I made back then in Black Ops 4. But to be honest with you, a lot of devs don't like repeating a lot of the same stories. They want to do their own new things that are maybe better. And it would go past the facility, maybe go to Nuketown. So this is something I talked about a few months ago, where this is where you come out of the tunnel. I probably should have had this before. So you can see right here, bus route B, before you get to the diner, and you can kind of go on the roof of the diner. You can kind of see bus route B where it goes here. People throw like grenades, and they could or they should have like a story where like it got closed off because maybe it was a hole to another dimension or a hole to the dark ether. Because when people no clip, you walk this way, maybe you get to this point, and you just drop into a hole. So they should, like I said, it could be COD Mobile, it could be Vanguard, it could be Cold War, it could be Black Ops 6, but why not give it a backstory of like, or bus route B, maybe intel, maybe some audio logs, maybe a cutscene, maybe a comic book, maybe in COD Mobile they do like their own little comic. But how cool it would be if you gave us, if Treyarch or Call of Duty gave us a backstory to why bus route B was closed off, aside from the assumption that it's Hanford site and it's dangerous and radiation and stuff like that. Maybe secret government stuff was going on and they didn't want people to find out about it. It just seems like a waste of resources not giving us a good bus route B backstory. I mean, bus route B was a thing. There's people who, again, don't do the research. They just follow, the puppet master, and they're just a puppet. One person says, or a big channel says, there's no bus route B, then, 3, 4, 5, 10 idiots behind them say, oh, there's no bus route B. But it shows that there was supposed to be bus route B, but, or even if there wasn't supposed to be, which I know there was supposed to be if you talk to some certain other people that worked at Treyarch, that I don't know, it was just scrapped out of time and stuff like that. But it would be cool to give them like a back story of like why it was closed off. Maybe put some orders, maybe some dark ether stuff. Maybe like an order, a couple orders, like I said. Have it like maybe a lot of monsters or giant monsters are there. A lot of good ideas they could use to kind of fill in the gaps. Again, this is just some stuff that got scrapped from Transit, and they should probably bring back some of those ideas. Maybe we go to the facility, then you see some of these mutated animals and stuff like that. Maybe the experiments that were going on at bus route B. This was the Tesla gun. Maybe they were working on the Tesla gun at bus route B, experimenting on giant rats and frogs and stuff like that. The jet gun is there. Maybe the backstory of how we got the jet gun in Transit. So I'm gonna probably wrap it up pretty quickly. Just want to kind of again go over some stuff. And as far as like what in the future, what they could do in the tortured path, and this would also fit in perfectly. But again, I know because of the COVID-19 and a couple other things that we're not going to be able to have everything because of time and constraints and stuff like that. But the tortured path was in World War II. Why not give us like a bus route B tortured path where we start at the bus depot, you do a couple things, maybe beat a boss, and you go to the next place. Even though I know that the tortured path was not loved by the zombies players, or zombie YouTubers, I should say. I have to kind of remember myself to kind of be distinct that the zombie YouTubers isn't the zombies community. A lot of them are just toxic and negative and aren't good at the game and just complain about everything no matter what you give them. So the zombie YouTubers didn't like the tortured path. I love it personally. It's small miniature survival maps. But how cool would it be to give us like a new transit slash tortured bath in Vanguard, and then it finally ending in bus route B, and we kind of find out what happened there, maybe undo what happened in bus route B. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you guys later.